Cerebral palsy is the most common motor disability in childhood. It affects 1 in 500 newborns. Although you may not have cerebral palsy, do you know anything about this disability? Would you be able to help someone with CP? Hi, I'm Bianca Hernandez. I am from your public speaking class, and I will be talking about cerebral palsy. Thank you for taking your time to listen to my speech. Right now, I will explain to you what cerebral palsy is, the different types of CP, the medications and treatments available, and some of the signs and symptoms of cerebral palsy. What is CP and the types of cerebral palsy? Well, cerebral palsy is a paralysis associated with loss in motor and coordinated caused by the cerebral damage. Although this cause is unknown, it occurs at birth and can be related to hypoxia, premature birth, or birth trauma. There are 3 types of CP, which are spastic CP, there is athetoid CP, and atax CP. The type of cerebral palsy that I will be talking about today specifically is spastic cerebral palsy. Spastic cerebral palsy is due to the impaired of the pyramidal tract, which is the most common type that you see of cerebral palsy. Spastic cerebral palsy is due to impairment of the pyramidal tract, and it is the most common types. The signs and symptoms of spastic cerebral palsy are distinguish this from other is, quote, hyperactive tendon, deep tendon reflexes, rapid alternating muscle coordination and relaxation, typical walking on toes with a zigzag crossing one foot in front of the other. You know that a little bit about cerebral palsy. Let me explain to you what could be the causes of cerebral palsy. In reality, there really isn't a cause, but according to research, like for example in chapter 17 in Cerebral Palsy, a book by Price, which was published in 2012, states that cerebral palsy can be caused by one or more of several factors, which are cognitive problems involving the CNS, which is the central nervous system, post-natural trauma or infections during birth or while they're alive, conditions of pregnancy or labor that interfere with oxygen reaching the fetal brain are other causes of cerebral palsy, and exposure during pregnancy to infections. Cognitive problems include hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus is fluid in the brain, and hemorrhage, which is a lot of bleeding. Premature separation of the placenta and prolonged labor are some examples and conditions that could affect cerebral palsy. So now that you know what may cause cerebral palsy, let's talk about the signs and symptoms of cerebral palsy. Every type of cerebral palsy presents different types of signs and symptoms, so each type of cerebral palsy doesn't have the same symptoms, or they can have similar ones. Physical findings that may suggest cerebral palsy result from impaired, developed, or damage to the motor areas of the brain. Primary symptoms of this spastic cerebral palsy include muscle tightness or increased tone, leading to stiff movements, and difficulty executing precise motor control. When upper limbs are involved, flexion is seen at the elbow, wrist, and fingers. The bent joints make it difficult to perform certain tasks, particularly when spasticity causes fisted fingers. It can be also difficult to balance with joints when joints are stiff, compounding standing, walking, difficulties associated with lower limb spasticity. Next, I will talk about the treatments available for cerebral palsy. So there is no cure for cerebral palsy. What a physical therapy is the first thing that a doctor would suggest for treatments. Before the physical therapy begins, the therapist takes an assessment of the child's motor capabilities or the adult's. This helps determine the most appropriate measures for therapy. After evaluating the child or adult, the therapist will prescribe strength training exercises, stretches, and muscle relaxing techniques based on the child's needs. Doing physical therapy will help them have more range of motion over their their arms and legs, which will provide them to assist themselves or do as much as they can for themselves. Other treatments include braces, casts, or splints, and special appliances such as adapted eating utensils and a low toilet seat with arms to help the child perform activities. Speech therapy is another treatment that can be provided for cerebral palsy if they have difficulty talking and being understood, which also tackles problems that affect the child's ability to eat as well. That the information that I have shared with you today will inform you about cerebral palsy, the types of cerebral palsy, the signs and symptoms of cerebral palsy, and the treatments available for this disability. The reason why I decided to talk about this disability was because I was a CNA who worked with special needs kids. Thank you. Again, my name is Bianca Hernandez, and I appreciate your time.